rounds gone in the Mobil 1 Rally Challenge. The forest stages are complete, and this man, Pentia Ricola, maintains a 1-second lead, and there's never been more than 1 second in it. In the opening round in the Subaru in North Wales, Ricola tied for the lead with Stig Blomqvist and with a very committed Malcolm Wilson.
Left max, 70. Crest, middle.
As the competition moved on to the Lance here in North Yorkshire, Wilson and co-driver Nicky Grist were trying equally hard.
Too fast right long. Flat left over crest. 80, absolute left.
But Ricola, risking everything, was a second faster than Wilson and 2 seconds faster than the former world champion Blomqvist. In the Nova in Wycombe Forest, Blomqvist was the quickest, Wilson was only a second slower. But Finland's Ricola still managed to maintain his 1-second lead. The drivers now take their total times onto the 2 remaining stages, which take place on the tarmac of the Isle of Man. 1 second covers the first 3, and Italy's Alex Fiorio and the British champion David Llewellyn may also feel that they're not entirely out of this quest to find rallying's all-rounder, the quickest driver in the forest and on the tarmac. And after the dust of the forest, the clear air of the Isle of Man and the national glen of Tholty Will, a rural backwater but an established and challenging rally stage for the 4-wheel drive Toyota Celica GT4. A stage 2.54 miles long, very fast opening section, and then essentially a hill climb, and the manner in which the drivers handle that series of hairpins is perhaps the important element. And the car that each of the drivers will be taking up the stage has real World Championship pedigree. The Toyota Celica GT4 that in 1990 took Spain's Carlos Sainz to the Drivers' World Championship. Toyota were always expected to be the greatest World Championship threat to Lancia, but it wasn't until this season that they consistently delivered the results. 4 wins for Sainz included beating the Finns on their home ground, wins that gave Spain their first ever World Rally champion and emphasised also that Japanese manufacturers are closing the gap in the sport. To round off the World Championship season, there was Toyota success on the 1990 Lombard RAC Rally, Sainz making up for the disappointment of the previous year when a late mechanical problem gave the victory to Ricola. But alongside that World Championship success, the car has taken the Asian Pacific and African Championship, and also in the last 2 seasons, the British Championship for David Llewellyn.
It's a fantastic car to drive. It's by far the easiest 4-wheel drive car I've driven. It's got a very nice torque band on the engine, very torquey engine, so you can let the power come down. It does obviously have a certain amount of turbo lag, which is a lack of power when you take your foot off the throttle in a corner. So you have to use left foot braking to compensate that, to keep the turbo spinning. The 4-wheel drive system, you can actually vary the torque from front to rear, which enables you to set the car up to drive like a front-wheel drive car or a rear-wheel drive car, whichever you prefer. There's quite a lot to understand, and you have to understand how it all works, because at the start there's so many knobs and brakes, balance, and this transmission balance. It took a while to understand it, and when I first got in the car I thought this thing's like a pig. I mean, it's terrible to drive, but once I understood it and could get everything set the way I wanted to, it was fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed driving the car.
You're driving these right hookers now, see? You're too strong with your left hand.
So doing her best not to get bogged down by the technology. The first to go, Louise Aitken-Walker with co-driver Christina Torner. Louise placed 6th overall, and the runners once again going in reverse order. So the 4th stage of the Rally Challenge.
30, quick right, 30, left, 30.
Louise slightly disappointed with the way she's performed so far. She's over 20 seconds behind Pentia Ricola after 3 stages. But she's in a World Championship winning car, and she's a world champion herself. The first ever ladies world champion from the 1990 season.
100. Easy left maybe, and long quick left over rebound.
Well into the first section of this stage, which is very, very fast. And once again, to her disadvantage is the limited 4-wheel drive experience she's had in any car. So she's going to find it difficult to make up much of the leadway here, but she's going to give it every effort.
Easy right and left, 30. Left right, 30. Easy right and 3, 50. Over medium left, right.
Now at the end of this opening section, the stage comes off the side of the hill to burst through that tight, quick left and right over the bridge. And then the driving starts in earnest, through a series of hairpins, and we'll see how Louise copes here.
Catch him hard.
Climbing up the hill, so all important to keep the revs going. And what kills it is to miss gears like that. Louise really stirring around to find something, and that's a shame, because a couple of seconds would have gone there.
And open slight left. 30. Left, 70. Medium
Stage now climbs all the way to the finish, so if Louise can keep the power down, there's still a chance of a decent time.
Open slight left, 30. Jump to the left grid, 30.
Coming up here, the jump, the cattle grid. That'll be the second of 2 timing points to check the progress of later runners, and for the record, Louise through that in 1 minute 52. Now, this is the first right-hand drive car of the competition so far, and familiarity with the car is such an advantage in this competition, and that's why we're expecting great things of David Llewellyn, who'll be the next driver to go. Louise with a time of 2 minutes, 12 seconds. And that's a time that could have been so much better if Louise could have found the right gear at the right time. But this Toyota gearbox is difficult to get used to, and the others may struggle as well.
If I came out in the hairpin properly, it wouldn't have been a problem. You know, when a driver gets annoyed with themselves, you know, that's...
Yeah.
You never really think much, and you think, oh, the gears are going to go in. And then when I missed, and then I went to 5th, and then I went to 1st, and then I managed to get to 3rd. But I would say David will show us the way to go up that hill, and because he knows the car, you know.
So here is David Llewellyn with co-driver Brian Thomas.
30,
And he should be quicker than anyone else, and how keen he is to be just that after a disappointing time in the forest that's left him 5th overall, 7 seconds behind 4th place man Alex Fiorio. Now it's over this opening section that Llewellyn's determination will show itself.
2 right, tightens. Long open left, 70. Short 3 left, tightens. Open left over crest, into long open left, absolute right, 100. Caution, long 2 right, tightens, narrows, and open left, 130. Open right, 50. 2 right, tightens, and open left over crest, into long open right, 50. Long 2 right, narrows, 100. 5 left, narrows, into 5 right, tightens.
A narrow but fast road, speeds of around 130 miles an hour.
Open left.
And Llewellyn only appeared to lift off at the real minimum as he flicked it left and right over the bridge and up the hill, already 4 seconds quicker than Louise Aiken-Walker.
Open left, 70.
The Welshman not appearing to miss a beat through the tight corners at the start of the climb. Now on the British Championship, Llewellyn has been most effective in this car in the forest. He won every forest round during the 1989 season, but he's had notable tarmac success as well and tied up the 1990 British Championship with his victory on the Ulster Rally in August. He looked impressive on the practice run, and he looks impressive now.
Crest, open left over grid, 30. 2 right,
Second
70.
checkpoint shows him to be now 8 seconds up on Louise, and surely he's now heading to a quite unbeatable time. It's hard to see how anyone is going to be quicker than this.
3 right, narrows late, into 4 left, 200.
Time of 2 minutes, 3 seconds for Llewellyn, faster than Louise by 9 seconds.
Smoother that time, wasn't it?
I got 03 again.
03 again. It was a bit smoother though. It was a bit safer.
It was safer.
It was a bit safer.
Yeah.
On my practice run, I was only a second slower, but my real run, timed run, was a little bit cleaner, a little bit tidier. Practice run was a bit tight in a few places.
What a target Llewellyn set. 2 minutes, 3 seconds. And now on the stage is Alex Fiorio. Fiorio will need a time of under 2 minutes, 10 seconds to prevent Llewellyn taking over 4th place in the competition. And he's certainly not on target for that in the opening part of the stage. Down to the bridge and the first timing point, and Fiorio is a massive 6 seconds down on Llewellyn's drive to that point. He's slower than Louise as well. The Italian is losing a substantial amount of time on this run. Gear selection problems, what he's suffering from, and if that's the case, he could well suffer further up the hill. You'd have thought that Fiorio, with his four-wheel drive Lancia experience and his tarmac experience as well, might have had the qualifications to do well on this stage, but he's struggling. Of course, right-hand drive might also be a big problem to Fiorio. He's had few opportunities to drive right-hand drive competitively before. Second check, and he's now 12 seconds behind Llewellyn, and that means he must surely drop behind him in the overall competition. Fiorio likely to drop down into 5th place. And he comes in with a time of 2 minutes 13 seconds behind Llewellyn, 4 seconds slower than Louise. It looked quick, but 2:16, where do you feel the time went?
I lose the time with the gearbox. I miss 4 or 5 times the gear, and I can drive right and drive in two times and go fast.
Was that going up the hill?
Yeah, I was going up a hill, and also before I arrived here, I had one time missing.
Fiorio struggles then with the gearbox and a wide range of performances in the opening 3 runs, but Llewellyn's time of 2 minutes 3 seconds is going to take some beating from the last 3 to go, the 3 overall leaders in the competition. Llewellyn's time, a tough target for the last 3 to tackle this very scenic Tholte Will stage. Surroundings that get auricular defending his profession. Motorsport is not antisocial, he claims. Indeed, rallying is ever more environmentally aware.
We understand environment problems very much in our sport, and we are working with that. For example, our team is using unleaded petrol, a whole team 100%. And of course, perhaps the next step will be a catalytic converters if we are sure that it will actually is good for environment. We are not quite convinced that that is really the answer. Perhaps the answer is to use less petrol and so on. So we are working with that. And of course, a lot of plus points is that in the rallies, the young people, even me, older person, can learn to drive better. And that surely is something which is fantastic, because of when you can use that skill rest of your life, maybe save your own life or somebody else's life. So plus, of course, we know from the past and that we have, because of the rallying, we have had better and started to use first thought to use the safety belts. And of course now it is everybody understands that you must use the safety belts. And in 25 years ago, when I started rallying, it would be unheard not to use safety belts, for example, and better lights, better shock absorbers, springs, tires. I mean, list is endless, which we have already contributed to the society. So of course we also want to do this environment business.
Well, here you are in this event, a narrow lead you've built up. How are you going to defend it over the last couple of rounds?
Yeah, it's very safe lead, you know, safe cushion, 1 second. But it's better than I thought, so it's better to be in the lead than in behind. But 1 second, of course, is nothing really. But it counts, the end. Now we are on tarmac. I was very happy to do well on gravel, because that's my main business anyhow. On tarmac, a lot of driving is in my view, and even South European drivers, Italian, French drivers, Spanish drivers, who are very used to drive on tarmac, even they enjoy more driving on gravel. And on tarmac, it's often you are only as good as your tires or car is. So in gravel, you can compensate more of that. And so for my books, it is not so important with tarmac. Obviously, being a Finn, you still want to win. So I'm still going to give my 100%. But you can really take extra risks here. But the consequences can be much harder than in a gravel road. So they are on tarmac. The problem is that if you have a mechanical problem or drive error or puncture or whatever, suddenly the car will leave the road very violently, like what we have seen in race tracks too. And the same comes with the rallies. On gravel roads, on the other hand, if you get a puncture or something like that, suddenly you have a rim sticking into the road, so you maybe even get better grip for a while. So it gives more warning, and it doesn't leave a road so violently as on tarmac. So yes, it can make a big difference here if you take a big risk.
But uphill, it's maybe a stage you prefer to running it downhill, which is...
Well, with this weight disadvantage, yes, I would have preferred to go downhill. But it's same for everybody, so we just have to try to keep at least the uphill section. I will try to keep the metal to metal, fully open.
And that's the ambition of the former world champion Stig Blomqvist, who's only 1 second off Auricula's lead and next to go.
I'm looking forward to it a lot, but okay, the steering wheel is on the wrong side. It can be some interesting thing. But okay, I've been driving the Toyota a little bit last year here and then on the race of champs at Nürburgring. So I've been in the car a bit, but not much. You have to use the gearbox quite a lot because it's tight corners and fast speed and then back to tight corners. You have to go through the box a couple of times, and that's maybe the problem.
And Blomqvist has come through that first check in a time that will be a bit disappointing for him, 5 seconds down on Llewellyn. The important thing for him is how his rivals for the overall title go. That's Wilson and Auricula. Blomqvist was talking rather modestly about his previous experience in the car. He won the Toyota round in the Mobil 1 Rally Challenge last year with a blistering drive in Wycombe Forest, and then was also behind the wheel of a Toyota, among other cars, when he won that race of champions at the Nürburgring. All of which should be a help here. He was suggesting right-hand drive could also be a problem. This being David Llewellyn's car, prepared by Toyota GB for the British Championship. Second check and a time of 1:51, 7 seconds down on the quickest so far, and that really is disappointing for the former world champion. Tied for second place before this, only 1 second behind the leader, but it's hard to imagine that Malcolm Wilson or Pentti Auricula won't carve a chunk of time off that. 2 minutes, 11 seconds for Blomqvist. He only manages to keep third place overall by 2 seconds from Llewellyn.
That's no problem, Benny.
So could the Rally Challenge have come down to just 2 men, this being the first of them, Malcolm Wilson, getting co-driver Benny Melander's view of Blomqvist's drive. And Stig must know that his chances of retaining the title are gone, but Wilson isn't overconfident.
The hairpins are very critical. You know, if you do get the hairpins wrong, you can obviously lose a good 1 or 2 seconds. And especially probably the gear changes going up the hill there as well, they're very critical. You know, you need to be up to maximum speed as soon as possible. So if you miss a gear change going up the hill, I think that's going to be quite crucial as well.
The one before around the wall, so the grid isn't flat. No, there's one of them, a couple of them, wasn't it?
There's a couple of them, isn't it? It's amazing, isn't it?
And Malcolm Wilson just looking for reassurance from co-driver Nicky Grist of where he can keep his foot down, where he must lift off. The co-driver navigator with a big responsibility over these short stages.
3, 2, 1, go!
Off they go, Malcolm Wilson and Nicky Grist, second overall in the challenge, but only 1 second adrift of Pentti Auricula.
Right, 20. Flat left, keep in.
And Wilson said before the start that despite the disappointing times from Blomqvist and indeed for Fiorio, he'd be looking for a time of around 2 minutes 6 seconds. And if he could manage that, then he'd have a really great chance of pushing Pentti hard for the overall title.
Flat right through depth, 100. Here, flat right, 130. Flat left, 100. Absolute right, 50. Absolute right, 30. Flat left of a crest, 20. Flat right long crest, 30. Here, flat right long.
The kind of section that the co-driver keeps his head down and just yells flat and absolute, and hopes to goodness the driver gets it right.
Right, 20.
Wilson has gone bravely so far, 1 minute exactly. Possibly on target for that 2 minutes 6 seconds. The rhythm and gear selection, all important up the hill.
60 over feet. Flat right, 20. Flat left of a crest, 30. Left match of a crest.
And how well Malcolm Wilson is going. A driver, we've said it before, who's never quite delivered the big results that his enormous talent deserves. But he's on course for something here if he can keep up this kind of pace.
Flat right. Over crest, 100. Flat left of a jump, 70.
Now approaching the second check,
Right long open.
and that gives him a time of 1:47, down by only 3 seconds on Llewellyn. So maybe he is putting in a time that's really going to put the pressure on the challenge leader, Penty Auricola.
Late cut, flat right. Absolute left, open for the crest.
Up to the finish, and that target of 2:06 is what our watch says. But they must wait for official confirmation of that.
Brilliant.
Thank you, mate. Do we get 6?
Yeah.
I must say our notes weren't absolutely correct. There's a few places we had flat, and I can definitely tell you that they weren't.
Where are we laying the blame here?
Oh, it's definitely the blame with me, that's for sure. But there's a few places that are not flat. We have marked as flat, that's for sure, when we sort of clipped the grass on a couple of places.
And here's a couple of moments coming up to the finish where Malcolm Wilson and Nicky Grist were pushing it to the real extremes.
Late cut, flat right. Absolute left, open for the crest. 150 over finish to stop.
But the job is done, and done very well. Now it's for Auricola to work out where you can go fast and where you can lose time on this demanding stage.
The wheel and the thing is just like a snake.
Blomqvist working out where he went wrong, and Auricola was paying close attention, as well he might. The challenge leader needing to match Wilson's time to stay in front.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Superbly off the start line, and Auricola sometimes gives an overly laid-back impression. He's a driver who really did take on a new lease of life and a new competitive spirit after his success in the Lombard RAC Rally in 1989.
Left side crest, 150. Right 2 short. 100.
Auricola with a direct line and a committed pace through this opening section. The pace notes strikingly more concise from John Meadows, and Auricola needing a time of 2 minutes 6 seconds to preserve his 1 second lead over Wilson in the competition.
To left 1 and right 1.
Now this stage is a familiar one from the Manx International Rally, but don't confuse it with the TT course on the Isle of Man. The bike action on the island very separate from the rally venues, but the Isle of Man remains one of the great centres for motorsport in general.
To right 6.
And Auricola is 59 seconds, and that's a second up on Wilson, same time as Llewellyn. So it really is turning into a battle royal between these two. One stage still to go, that's in the Ford Sierra Cosworth, once again on this Salty-Will stage. And a misgear there for Auricola, very similar to what happened to Louise, at pretty much the same point in the stage. And she reckons she lost 2, maybe 3 seconds. I wonder how hard that might have hit Auricola. Just looking ahead once again to that one remaining stage in the Ford Sierra Cosworth here at Salty-Will, and it's hard to anticipate just who will have the advantage. Both Wilson and Auricola have strong Ford connections. Wilson is the Ford Works driver for the forthcoming season, but one thing's for certain, there won't be much separating them as they come into the final stage. And that final time check is 1:47, dead level with Malcolm Wilson. So the question is, as Auricola heads to the finish, not can he beat Llewellyn's supreme target of 2 minutes 3 seconds for stage victory, but can he make that 2 minutes 6 seconds to keep him ahead overall? And the clock stops at 2:06, almost creeping onto 2:07, but no tenths of a second in this competition, and Penty continues to lead the Mobil 1 Rally Challenge.
Maybe just 2:06.
I must admit that, and I have to tell the truth because we got in-car cameras too to show it, but
We'll see everything.
so instead of putting third gear on from second gear in the uphill, very steep uphill, I managed to get a fifth gear. That wasn't so good. I know the engine is powerful, but not that powerful, and so...
And that would have cost you what, do you reckon?
Well, I have to then try to get the third, of course, which was my original intent, but it now went to the first gear. So, when, of course, that time we were going by quite slowly. So I had to go to second, third. So I think that climb I lost probably perhaps about 3 seconds. And then the last sort of bad left-hand bend, it's a third gear corner. I tried to do it with fifth gear. I was trying to get third gear, but it went to fifth gear. But that wasn't so clever.
All of which suggests that what you did on the rest of the stage must have been tremendous stuff.
Oh, yes, it's amazing what you can do with a little bit of luck.
No luck about David Llewellyn's run. At last he proves his class in the competition, and he certainly made his Toyota experience count. He wins the stage by a clear 3 seconds, but tied for second are Ricola and Wilson, and it's between these two now for the title of the sport's top all-rounder. Ricola leads Wilson by a second, and defending champion Blomqvist has dropped 6 seconds off the lead. The title will now be decided at the wheel of Ford Sierra Cosworths in the final round.